Everyone said the German Shepherd was too dangerous to save, growling, lunging, broken by a world that only ever hurt him. No one dared go near until a gentle 10-year-old girl sat outside his cage and didn't flinch. What happened next would not only change the dog, it would change everyone. If you too believe that every wounded soul deserves a second chance, then make sure to subscribe to this channel. Because here, every story isn't just a video. It's a promise of hope. The first time anyone laid eyes on Rex, he was a ghost on a back road, gaunt, pacing just beyond the reach of headlights, his eyes reflecting an unnatural gold in the dark. Animal control officers had tried for weeks to catch him, lured him with food, tracked him through the Vermont snow. But Rex didn't want to be caught. He didn't want help. And when they finally did trap him, cornered in the remains of an old shed, they found more than a stray dog. They found something raw, wounded, dangerous. At the rural Pine Hollow Animal Rescue, the staff didn't call Rex a resident. They called him a case, a challenge, a liability. He was kept in isolation, away from the others. His file was marked in red, underlined. Aggressive, do not approach, males especially at risk. No one knew his full story. Some guessed he'd been trained as a fighting dog. Others believed he'd been beaten, broken by someone who used fear as a leash. But the truth was simpler and sadder. Rex didn't know how to trust. Not anymore. Every time someone approached his kennel, he'd erupt, teeth bared, body stiff. The low, guttural growl never stopped, like it had been carved into him. Some volunteers quit after a single encounter. One vet tech required stitches. After that, Rex was fed using a metal chute. No one got close, not even to clean, and yet, even in the midst of his fury, his eyes were different. Not rabid, not wild, just terrified, haunted. And something about that haunted look was what stayed with Emily Crane, the 9-year-old daughter of the shelter's new receptionist, Sarah. Emily wasn't supposed to be near the kennels, but every time she visited after school, she wandered back, drawn again and again to the one dog nobody else could touch. She never stepped too close. She didn't try to talk to him. She just sat, every day for a week. Same spot, same distance, same silence. Sarah had warned her. "He's not like other dogs, Em. You have to give him space." "I am," Emily had replied quietly. "But maybe he needs someone in his space, just not too close." The staff humored her. She was quiet, gentle. And besides, Rex never lunged when she was there. He paced, he growled, yes, but it was different. Measured, uncertain. One day she brought a book, sat down and read to him, her voice barely above a whisper. Rex didn't come forward, but he stopped pacing. His ears flicked. His tail remained low but didn't tuck. Sarah watched from the hall window, arms folded, conflicted. She saw the others watching too. Trent, the kennel tech who once called Rex a lost cause, and Diane, the senior vet who'd lobbied for Rex to be moved to a behavioral facility. No one said a word. The next day, Emily brought something new, a small sketchbook. She flipped to a page she'd drawn the night before, a German shepherd sitting beneath a tree. She didn't show it to him, just laid it gently near the edge of the kennel gate and backed away. That night, after closing, Trent found the sketch shredded in 100 pieces. But the next day, she brought another one. This time, Rex didn't destroy it. By the second week, something had shifted. The growls grew softer, his pacing shorter, his body still stiff, but no longer a coiled spring. Emily never tried to reach him, never reached through the bars. She simply showed up and gave him what no one else had: time. Then came the day that changed everything. It was a Tuesday. Rain battered the metal roof, loud and endless. Emily had forgotten her sketchbook and sat empty-handed for once, just staring. After 20 minutes of quiet, Rex stepped forward. Not much, just 2 slow, tense steps toward the front of the kennel. He stopped when he saw her notice. Emily didn't flinch. She didn't smile, didn't speak. She just blinked slowly, softly, as her mother had once shown her when they were fostering kittens. It's what animals sometimes do to show trust, to say, "I'm safe, you can be too." And then, impossibly, Rex sat down. Trent, who had been sweeping a nearby hallway, stopped cold. He dropped the broom. Emily turned slightly, still not looking at Rex directly. "Did you see that?" she whispered. He nodded, breathless. "Yeah, I did." The next day, a new note was taped to Rex's kennel. "Do not approach, exception Emily Crane." Sarah was furious at first. "He's unpredictable," she argued. "If something happens..." "She's the only one he responds to," Diane countered. "And you've seen it. If there's a chance to reach him, even a sliver, it's through her." And so a new plan was formed. Emily would continue her visits, but under careful supervision. Each day she'd sit, sketch, read, never push, never reach. And each day Rex came a little closer. By the end of the month, he no longer growled when he saw her. He sat. He watched. Sometimes he even lay down near the front of the gate, not relaxed, not yet, but present, watching, listening, trusting. "He's choosing her," Diane said one afternoon, arms crossed, watching the two from the monitor in the security room. Not because she forced it, because she waited. Trent exhaled slowly. "What if she's the only one who ever can?" Diane looked at him. "Then maybe that's exactly what he needs." The decision was made carefully, not quickly. Rex had made progress, real, undeniable progress, but no one was under any illusion that he was safe. Not yet. His fear still lived close to the surface, like a storm just beneath the calm. But Emily's presence quieted that storm. Day after day, she showed up. And Rex kept choosing not to hide. So, when Diane suggested a trial session, an actual intentional moment of physical contact, it wasn't impulsive. It was built on 3 weeks of trust, on Emily's patience, on Rex's silence. "We'll try with a brush," Diane explained to Emily. "Not a hand, not yet. You place it near the kennel gate, and if he approaches, slowly push it forward. But only if he wants it. And if he growls, even softly, you stop. You hear me?" Emily nodded solemnly. "I don't want to scare him." "I know you don't," Diane said gently. "That's why it might just work." The next day they tried. Emily arrived with a soft bristled brush tucked under her arm and a new sketch, Rex sitting in tall grass, eyes wide but gentle. She placed both down at the gate and sat cross-legged, knees folded neatly, back straight, just as she always did. Rex approached after 10 minutes, his paws silent on the concrete. He sniffed the brush cautiously. Ears flicked forward, tail still. Emily didn't move. Then, just once, he nosed it. Diane watched from behind the tinted window, hardly breathing. Emily reached forward slowly, gently pushing the brush a few inches. Rex sniffed again. The growl didn't come. Instead, he looked up at her, briefly, just a flicker of eye contact. Then he lay down. He didn't let her brush him. Not that day. But he hadn't walked away. He hadn't growled. He'd stayed. It was a beginning. By the end of that week, Rex allowed the brush to touch his shoulder. The following week, he accepted it on his back. By the end of the month, Emily's fingers replaced the brush. Not often, not long, but a few gentle strokes, a quiet connection. A truth Rex had never known. Touch didn't have to hurt. "He's changed," Diane said one evening, staring at the log of progress notes. Still guarded, but there's a softness now, a space where something can grow. Sarah leaned over her shoulder. Do we talk about adoption? Diane didn't answer right away. Emily was only 9. Sarah was a single mom working full-time, and Rex was still a dog with history, scars, triggers, unknowns, but the bond between them was undeniable, transformative. We don't rush this, Diane said finally, but maybe we prepare for the idea. Meanwhile, Emily remained steady. No sudden moves, no expectations. She learned to read Rex's body language the way others read books. When his tail curved to the right, he was curious. When his pupils widened, he was anxious. She spoke less and watched more. One rainy afternoon, something new happened. Rex had been restless, his pacing sharper than usual, ears pinned. Thunder rumbled distantly. Emily waited by the kennel, speaking soft reassurances. "It's okay," she murmured. "It's just the sky talking." And then, slowly, shakily, Rex pressed his body against the gate. Close, voluntary. His side leaned in, ribs against metal. Emily didn't move for nearly a minute. Her heart was thudding. Her palms were sweaty. Then, carefully, she reached through the bars and placed her hand over his heart. He didn't flinch, didn't growl, just breathed. Long, slow, and deep. From that moment on, Rex no longer waited for Emily to arrive. He anticipated her. His ears perked when he heard her voice. His tail wagged, just once or twice, tentatively, but undeniably. The staff began to believe. "He's bonding," Trent said to Diane, eyes wide. "With her, like she's his person." "She might be," Diane replied. "But what happens if she can't keep him?" Diane didn't have an answer. Yet. The question hovered. Because while Emily and Rex grew closer, the future remained uncertain. Sarah was cautious. She'd seen how deep her daughter's heart ran, how easily it cracked when animals were adopted out or transferred. Rex wasn't just another dog to Emily. He was the one. And Emily? She didn't beg, didn't plead. But every night, she drew. Drawings of Rex curled on a living room rug. Drawings of him under trees, at her side. Drawings of a future that didn't feel like a dream anymore. One evening, as Sarah cleaned up dinner, she noticed something pinned to the refrigerator. Emily's latest drawing. This one was different. It wasn't just her and Rex. It was her, Rex, and Sarah. Together. Under a banner that read, "Home." Sarah didn't say anything. Just stood in silence, hand resting over her mouth. That night, she called Diane. "Tell me what this would look like, if we actually tried." The next day, a formal discussion began. Diane brought in a behaviorist. Trent reviewed every documented incident. Sarah agreed to a trial period, 6 weeks, closely supervised. If Rex could integrate into a home environment, even gradually, adoption could be possible. It was a risk. But the alternative? Sending Rex to another home after all this? It felt unthinkable. "I want to try," Sarah said. "Because if this doesn't work, I need to know we at least gave him the chance." Diane nodded. "And if it does?" "Then my daughter saves a life," Sarah replied, her voice catching. "And maybe that dog saves hers too." Moving Rex out of the shelter wasn't like moving any other dog. There were no playful tail wags, no eager leaps into the car. There was tension in the air, coiled nerves. Everyone at Pine Hollow held their breath. The crate was open. Emily stood nearby, hands clasped tight behind her back, waiting. No commands, no pressure, just presence. Rex didn't move at first. Then, step by step, paw by paw, he climbed in. Sarah had prepared their home carefully. No mirrors, no shiny bowls. Soft rugs covered the floors. Toys were tucked away. Blankets lined Rex's corner. A crate without a door, a space just for him. When they arrived, Sarah opened the trunk gently. Emily knelt nearby. "You can come when you're ready," she whispered. Rex hesitated, then leapt down. His body was low, tail still, but he didn't run. He followed Emily, step for step, into the house. He didn't bark. He didn't growl. He just observed. The first few hours were cautious. Rex paced the perimeter of the living room, sniffed every corner, circled his crate 3 times before curling up inside. He didn't eat until the house was dark. But he didn't resist, either. The first night passed without incident. By the second day, Rex began watching Emily. Not just from his crate, but from doorways, from corners. If she moved to the couch, he moved halfway. If she laughed at something on TV, his ears perked. By the end of the first week, something remarkable happened. Emily was sitting at the dining table, coloring quietly. Her sketchbook open, her crayons scattered. Rex emerged from his crate. Slowly, carefully. He padded toward her, stopping just short of the table. She didn't look up. She didn't need to. He nudged a crayon with his nose. Emily smiled softly. "That one's blue," she said. He stayed beside her for nearly 10 minutes. No leash, no command, just choice. Sarah watched from the kitchen, stunned. Later that night, she sent Diane a message. He came to her, on his own, just stood there like he belonged. The behaviorist came on the 10th day. She sat quietly as Rex lay near the doorway, his eyes never leaving Emily. "He's forming a secure attachment," she said after their session. "His anxiety responses are still there, but they're slowing. He's not reacting. He's assessing." "So, you think we're okay?" Sarah asked. "I think you're doing more than okay. But remember, this isn't linear. There will be setbacks." The first setback came sooner than expected. It was a Saturday morning. Sarah was preparing breakfast when the back door creaked open. The wind had caught it. Rex froze, his ears pinned. He bolted from his crate and planted himself between Emily and the door, growling low. It wasn't the growl of fear. It was the growl of protection. Emily didn't scream. She didn't move. She lowered her gaze, then knelt beside him, slowly, not touching. "It's okay," she whispered. "It's just the wind. We're safe." Sarah closed the door, heart thudding. She'd never seen Rex move that fast before. Rex didn't calm immediately, but he didn't escalate either. He remained there, solid, unmoving, until Emily began humming, softly, the tune she always sang while drawing. Rex finally exhaled. His body lowered, his tail dropped. He lay down beside her. That night, Emily drew a picture of the moment. Rex at the door, Emily behind him, a storm cloud outside, but light inside. "He's not just scared anymore," she told Sarah. "He's brave too." The third week brought new challenges. Rex refused to go on walks. Each time Sarah tried to clip the leash, he recoiled. His body stiffened. The leash, likely a memory of pain, of force, was a trigger. So they stopped trying. Instead, Emily took to sitting on the front porch with him, no leash, just side by side, watching the world. Neighbors passed. Cars rumbled by. Rex watched. He didn't growl. One afternoon, he stepped off the porch only a few feet. But still, it was progress. The world outside didn't end, and slowly he began to believe that. By the fourth week, Rex no longer slept in his crate. He began choosing new spots, the rug beside the couch, the hallway outside Emily's room, even under the kitchen table. And then, one night, Sarah woke to a soft sound, nails tapping hardwood. She opened her bedroom door. Rex was there. Not barking, not pacing, just lying there, waiting. She didn't speak, just left the door open. He stayed until morning. Later that day, Sarah found a new drawing taped to the fridge. Emily had drawn all three of them in bed. Sarah reading, Emily curled up beside her, and Rex at the foot, eyes closed, peaceful. She called Diane that evening. Her voice wavered. I think this is working." "You think he's ready?" Diane asked. "I think we are." The shelter officially transferred ownership of Rex to Sarah and Emily on a rainy Thursday afternoon. There were no balloons, no celebration, just a quiet signature on a dotted line and a small nod from Diane as she handed over Rex's paperwork. But to Emily, it felt like fireworks. That night she wrote a letter, folded carefully, tucked into Rex's crate, which he now rarely used. The paper smelled faintly of crayons and lavender. It read, "Dear Rex, thank you for choosing us. I promise you never have to be scared again. Love, Emily." Rex didn't read the letter. But the next morning the paper was gone, dragged softly into the corner of his bed, resting beneath his chin like a treasure. Winter turned to spring, and Rex changed in ways no one had thought possible. He started following Sarah into the garden, watching curiously as she trimmed herbs and planted wildflowers. He'd lie beside Emily as she read aloud, his head resting lightly on her foot. But it wasn't just the calm that marked his transformation. It was how he responded to the world's chaos. One afternoon, while walking in the quiet woods behind their home, a deer startled across the path. Emily shrieked, more surprise than fear. Rex tensed, ears sharp. But he didn't chase, he didn't bark. Instead, he turned to her. A full second passed as their eyes met, and Emily whispered, "It's okay." And Rex listened. By early May, Sarah began inviting small groups of children to visit. Just 2 or 3, friends from school, kids who had heard of the dog who didn't like anyone but Emily. The first visit was cautious. Rex didn't engage, but he didn't hide either. He sat under the tree in the backyard, eyes following Emily as she played. Occasionally, his head tilted at the sound of laughter, and once, just once, he stepped forward, sniffing a little girl's shoe before retreating again. Emily beamed. She didn't need him to play fetch or roll over. She just needed him to try. "I think he's learning to forgive the world," she told Sarah that evening, "one person at a time." By June, Rex had become something else entirely. Not a perfect dog, not always predictable, but present, a companion, one who chose Emily, every single day. On her 10th birthday, the guests gathered in their backyard under a sky full of paper lanterns. Rex watched from the porch at first, cautious. But when Emily brought out his favorite blanket and laid it beside her under the tree, he came. Not because she called, because he wanted to. He stayed through the singing, through the laughter, through the soft hum of celebration, and when the candles were lit, Sarah whispered to Emily, "Make a wish." Emily looked at Rex, then at her mother, and said, "I don't need to." It already came true. The following week, Diane called. "We'd like to do a feature on Rex for the shelter's new outreach campaign to teach people about trauma-informed adoption." Sarah hesitated. "Do you think he's ready?" "I think you're ready," Diane replied. "And that's what he needs. You've built something real. It's time people saw what's possible." And so they did. The video shoot was simple, just clips of Rex walking beside Emily, lying at her feet, resting in her lap while she read from a book titled Brave Tales. But it wasn't the footage that struck people. It was the silence, the peace, the gentle rhythm of a dog who no longer needed to defend himself from the world. The feature went viral. Thousands of comments poured in. "This made me cry. We adopted our dog because of this." I'll never look at aggression the same way again. But for Emily, the fame meant little. Because at home, Rex was still Rex. Still quiet in the mornings, still afraid of sudden thunder, still hesitant around strangers. But he no longer flinched when Emily reached out. He no longer panicked when Sarah opened the back door. And he never, not once, left Emily's side when she was upset. The turning point came that summer when Emily fell from her bike. A sharp twist of the wheel, a scream, a crash. Sarah ran out, heart pounding. Rex was already there, his body coiled low, nose against Emily's arm, letting out small, urgent whines. Emily was scraped, crying, her knees bloodied, but she clutched Rex's fur and whispered, I'm okay. He stayed until the bandages came, until her tears stopped. Later that night, Sarah asked, Were you scared? Emily shook her head. Not with him, there. A few weeks later, the local school invited Sarah to speak about rescue animals. She brought Emily along. And Rex. The gym was quiet as the three of them walked to the front. Rex hesitated. The sounds were strange. So many eyes. But Emily laid her hand on his shoulder. It's just a story, she said softly. And you're the hero. And he walked with her. That night, Sarah found a new drawing taped above Emily's bed. It was a picture of Rex standing tall on a hill, the wind in his fur. Above him were 4 words. He chose to stay. Because that was the truth of it. Rex hadn't just been rescued. He'd chosen to stay, to trust, to love. It had been 1 year, 12 full months since Rex had walked out of that cold concrete kennel and into the quiet warmth of Sarah and Emily's home. And though time had passed, they still remembered the way he used to flinch at footsteps, growl at movement, and turn away from outstretched hands. Now he greeted them each morning with slow tail wags, not rushed, not eager, but steady, certain. He had learned the rhythm of the house, Emily's school routine, Sarah's soft hums in the kitchen, the rustle of trees beyond the fence. Every sound was no longer a threat, but part of the symphony of his new life. And more than anything, Rex had found his role. He was Emily's shadow, her guardian, her mirror, her quiet courage. He padded beside her during chores, curled beneath her desk during homework, and watched her sleep each night from the foot of her bed. But perhaps the most beautiful sign of his healing came not in the quiet moments, but in the loud ones, like the 4th of July. Sarah had braced for it. Fireworks had always been a terrifying ordeal for Rex. Even the distant echo of thunder used to send him trembling under the couch. But this time, they prepared differently. Emily created a safe fort with blankets and pillows. She placed his favorite toys inside, dimmed the lights, and turned on gentle music. Then she crawled in beside him, book in hand. The first crack of color split the sky. Rex flinched, his ears pinned, but Emily didn't speak. She just stayed. And slowly, Rex leaned into her, his shoulder against hers, his breathing syncing with the rhythm of her story. He didn't bolt. He didn't hide. He chose to stay. That night, as explosions filled the sky, Rex rested his head in Emily's lap and closed his eyes. When it ended, she whispered, "You're the bravest dog I've ever met." And he believed her. Weeks later, something unexpected arrived in the mail, an official invitation to speak at the National Rescue Rehabilitation Conference. They wanted Sarah and Emily to present Rex's story, not because he was perfect, but because he was proof. Proof that aggression is not the end, that trauma doesn't define a soul, that healing takes time and choice. Emily was nervous. "What if people don't understand?" she asked. Sarah smiled. "Then we help them see, the way you helped Rex." They flew out in October. Rex wore a special harness with a patch that read, "Working dog, please ask before approaching." He handled the airport surprisingly well. Nervous, yes, but calm. Especially when Emily held the leash. When they took the stage, there were over 400 people watching. Sarah spoke first. She talked about behavior, not as a checklist to be corrected, but as a language to be heard. "Rex didn't fail as a dog," she said. "We failed to listen." Then she stepped aside, and Emily stepped forward. Rex sat beside her. "He was angry at first," Emily said, her voice steady but soft. "But not really. He was just scared, and everyone kept telling him he was broken. But I didn't see a broken dog. I saw a lonely one." The room was silent. Emily reached down and scratched Rex behind the ear. His eyes fluttered. His tail thumped once. "He didn't learn to love because we trained him. He learned because we stayed. We waited. We never asked him to be anything other than himself." The audience rose to their feet. Some were wiping tears. Back home, life resumed. The days grew shorter. Leaves fell like golden confetti across the yard. Rex loved autumn. He chased falling leaves, not wildly but with purpose, as if reclaiming the joy he was once denied. On one particular evening, as the sun bled into orange, Sarah watched from the porch as Emily danced in the grass, Rex circling gently beside her. "Race me," she called, laughing. And for the first time ever, Rex ran, full speed, free. Sarah watched, her hand over her heart. Later, by the fireplace, Emily brought over a framed drawing. It was simple, just pencil. It showed a kennel, its door wide open, a little girl standing at the edge, and a dog, half in shadow, half in light, taking one step forward. Above it, she had written, "Healing doesn't ask you to hurry. It asks you to be seen." Sarah hung the drawing above the mantel. The next day, something extraordinary happened. The shelter called. Another dog had come in, terrified, reactive, unapproachable, and the staff had only one question. "Would you and Emily be willing to help?" Sarah hesitated, but before she could answer, Emily took the phone. "Can I meet her?" she asked. "Just to sit." They went the following day. The dog's name was Hazel. She was nothing like Rex. Smaller, wiry, but just as frightened. She paced her kennel like a ghost, eyes darting from corner to corner. Emily didn't speak. She just sat. Rex was nearby, calm, watching, remembering. Hazel didn't approach, but she didn't growl either. She stopped, looked, tilted her head, and that was enough. Later that night, Emily knelt beside Rex. "Do you think she'll trust us too?" Rex leaned against her leg, silent but sure, and so the story continued. Because healing, once begun, becomes contagious, not quick, not easy, but always worth it. In the end, Rex didn't become a show dog or a therapy star. He became something far rarer, a soul restored, a protector no longer ruled by fear, but guided by loyalty. A mirror for a little girl who believed that love wasn't just about affection, but about patience, about showing up, about sitting in the dark with someone until they feel safe enough to step into the light. And for Emily, Rex had become the proof she needed that the hardest hearts can still soften, and that no one, no matter how damaged, is ever beyond hope.